Purushottamam. Jai Guru. We have not been able to see or greet each other in person for such a long time, reflecting, beholding, and praising Thakur together, elevating our consciousness through one another's intellect and experience. However, by means of technology, congregating with him at the center has not stopped. Rather, one can say it has multiplied manifold. Here in Deoghar, our most beloved and venerable Acharya Dev also longs to meet you all, in spite of physical complications related to advanced age. Nonetheless, he never ceases to serve his beloved Lord, our supreme beloved Lord Thakur, and hence remains actively interested to the fullest for the well-being, for the life and growth of one and all, near or far, attached or detached, physically, mentally, or spiritually. He embodies all the attributes of the Lord Himself and sincerely identifies every creature to be part of His own self. I don't know whether anyone is going to be benefited or not by whatever I want to say, but I could not subdue my temptation of interacting with you all and speak out my heart to you. I thank you in advance for patiently sparing some of your precious time for me. A certain aim lies behind everything we do. It is meaningless to do anything without an aim. But often we see that we are busy with some activity out of habit and we no longer consider the reason behind it. Slowly but surely we forget the purpose. Then we forget to consider whether the manner in which we do something serves the original purpose at all. What we are doing, will it have a good or bad result? Like a machine, we plow on by force of habit. There is certainly a result to any action, and it is my behavior as a whole that reveals that. My own situation and the state of my environment will exhibit these. Then, not only I, but everyone will be able to understand what I have done and for what reason I have done it. That is why it is of prime imperative to be clear regarding one's inner aim, because if we lose that clarity or if our aim changes, then we may miss the desired result from the same particular activity we are engaged in. There is a certain reason or purpose behind these Satsang Utsavs or anything we do for the Lord. Satsang, or in other words, uniting with that which is Sat, being attached to that, keeping the company of that, being devoted to that. However, Sat is a certain condition, state of being or quality. It is not something conscious. So how can one have Satsang? That which has existence, that is Sat. But everyone's existence has a certain limit or duration. Nothing is everlasting. At least, superficially, this is what we see and understand. And moreover, every object of existence has its distinctiveness. So, what or who actually is Sat? He is Sat in whose life there is love for existence, who infallibly turns everyone towards it and has the effortless skill to protect it, promptly uprooting its contrary. He in whom these are vividly displayed, not just towards his own existence, but all that exists. Such a one is the embodiment of Sat itself, whom we call the living ideal. The more vivid, pure, and normal the state or quality of Sat is within one, the more he is the manifest Sat. So, we can have satsang by the company, association, and proximity of the living ideal, and by service and devotion towards him. These are the normal, human, and easy means to have satsang at heart, to have sat in our own individual lives. In fact, these are indispensable because it is the only means to invoke unstoppable love by which we break through our own inner barriers and hindrances to Sat. We do not want the slightest form of deterioration in our life because its persistence leads to its propagation, which ultimately leads to death. So, in order to avoid this, we have to be true to the path of Sat, which means to be true in following the manifest Sat. Hence, our sole purpose in life is to make the manifest Sat, the living ideal, primary under all circumstances. Not only that, we have also to make primary in our life the intention of the living ideal, because that is actually nothing other than all round, all inclusive life and growth. Then our life may become prosperous and genuinely successful. Conversely, our success and prosperity rest on our own dexterity and power to resist and regulate the forces of deterioration and death. This itself depends on our personality being whole and firm. Our personality, in turn, is forged when we reverentially accept a living ideal, because this opens the door to the superior qualities of the living ideal to shine on our character. The expression of genuine acceptance is obedience, dedication, and all urge of activity towards Him and His mission of life and growth, from which sprout love. We find it is love and only love that is the way to achieve holistic prosperity and harmony and to eradicate its contrary. The expression of such love includes sympathy, tolerance, compassionate service, sincere engagement with the good of every element of creation, whether animate or inanimate, as they are part and parcel of our very own being and becoming. The purest, unadulterated form of this oneness with creation can be seen in the life of Thakur in a very normal and effortless way. So, naturally, people found and felt in Thakur the ideal of humanity, a supernormal human being. Each and every individual, whosoever they were, whatsoever their station or background, were of equal importance to Thakur, and this was revealed by the welfare he administered to one and all with tremendous earnestness, care, and endearment. He lived at the heart of the society, in touch with the daily life of countless souls, the highs and lows, the doings and ongoings. history shows he was deeply engaged in elating and exalting people to the attainment of a higher and better quality of life, never for one moment sparing himself. He persistently and tenaciously loved on, even when people behaved adversely towards him. Set in love for God, he was unable to tolerate the suffering of any section of his milieu, spurred by the instinctive concern of a guardian that gave rise to the minute inspection of a scientist and the deep reflection of a philosopher. Thakur discerned the cause and effect that led to the social hardships he saw around him and set about implementing their resolution. People could understand that it was from his continuous toil, his indomitable spirit, his far-sighted observation, his deep insight, and his rigorous testing that surfaced his own unique principles to life. His conviction that they were the solution to life's problems was evidenced by his own undeviating adherence to them. In fact, it was his own demonstration of his principles that pierced the ignorance of the common man and gave them easy access to a renewed and heavenly life. Naturally, people started to gather around Thakur, accepting him as the epitome of wisdom, smeared with the purest form of love and the redeemer of humankind. Thakur, by compulsion of his grace, has shown us the path to live on, and he continually draws us along that very path without rest. Even when we move the wrong way, he gives us so many signals again and again in so many ways to restore us to the path of life and growth. Has there ever been anyone so fortunate as us? With the combined urge of both mind and body, when I become absorbed in thoughts of him by full surrender, I do not become overwhelmed by anything else apart from him. My vision becomes clear, and furthermore, the influence of faith and conviction falls on my own character through my own words and conduct, and then only do I become able to influence the milieu. However, we should be clear that the aim of our advance towards the Lord is not for any superficial profit that would amount to greed. We are not consigning His Lordship to ourselves in order to reign over our environment. The avowed activity of our life is entirely of the heart. The actual focus of acquisition is mastery over ourselves. The complexes that possess us, hesitation, doubt, disregard, ingratitude, fault finding, grief, fear, inferiority complex, vilification, envy, malice, disease, discrepitude, death. Have we gained lordship over this? Or have we become sincerely and normally engaged to gain such mastery? We should heed the fact that if we do not proceed by the luminance of the benign Lord, our very milieu extorts us rather than nurtures us. Our existence will get stained and shattered by the influence of various external forces and personalities, thwarting our path of life and growth in the long run. Hence, what is needed before everything else is jojon, self-regulation according to our Lord. And without love for Him, without attachment towards Him, without full surrender towards Him, that won't develop in us. Our sole problem is our own ego and the associated ignorance. At every step, we compromise the commands of the benign Lord out of ego, and in so doing, we have let slip so many opportunities. We utilize Him in order to establish ourselves. We use His arms and ammunition, which, by a chain of events, ultimately fire against Him, that is, against our own very existence, ironically. Instead of effecting His mission, we constantly try to establish our own interests like a self destructive addiction. Sometimes we may even feel we have good reason to utilize Thakur and that we are doing so out of necessity. Nonetheless, we cannot forget that his other name is law or providence, and if one moves against the law, then what can he do? If mastery within awakens not, master, center, none you have, and deceiving, you shall be deceived. Whatever we do for him, he has always given us 100-fold in return. With whatever trust he has instructed us to implement his principles of life and growth upon ourselves and others, and that too for our own survival, with a greater force of arrogance, we rebuff him with just a little activity and enjoy an illusory sense of satisfaction. Just a simple example: an addict. An addict may know smoking or drinking alcohol is bad for health, but when the propensity gets aggravated, then despite knowing everything, he indulges himself, and just with a facet of wisdom, he actually tends to forget all that is virtuous. It is like the child who plays hide and seek. He covers his eyes with his hands and thinks nobody can see him, though he is standing in plain view. But how long are we going to cover our eyes and ears like a child and pretend we do not recognize our obsessions? Whatsoever we do, whatever he likes, that is my sole desire, whether I like it or not. With such perception, consciousness, words, and conduct, the pursuit of life and growth becomes instinctive. Therefore, whatever the circumstance, whichever situation, remaining attached to him and leading life accordingly is our sole activity. If our desire in life is the Lord and actualizing his mission, then we have to fill our life with active, indomitable devotion. However, devotion, allegiance, adherence, all these cannot be centered around an intangible bhav or state of being, but they can crystallize around someone where this condition is manifest. Bhav, that means to be, and in order to be, one has to do. Can one be without doing? He who has cultivated the bhav of our Thakur through his conduct is the living idol of that bhav. He is in plain view the expression of Thakur, the properly united bhav of Thakur. He is the emblem of Thakur. He has kept the Sat embodied. Such a person we call Acharya, with glowing awakenment and behavior full of affection, by whose every thought, every word, every deed we can perceive our living Lord. Hence, being centered on the Acharya is the only way to make our own lives clear, fully harmonious, united, and vibrant in Thakur. There's no other way. Centering on the Acharya with dedication and allegiance, with an urge to do things created out of love for and to satisfy him, that immerses the whole world like a flood. My earnest request to all, be concentric in that manifested bhav to acquire it to the fullest, and each of you become triumphant in establishing the Lord in your own life when He and He alone is triumphant in every step of every life, as exemplified by our beloved Acharya Dev. Then each of our lives becomes successful, and that will touch the family along with the environment, the whole society and country, and the entire world. Now, you will get a hyperlink on your screen. When you click that, you will get to watch a program conceived and blessed by our most beloved Acharya Dev, especially for this USA congregation. Under his instruction, his eldest grandson, my nephew, AnindyaDyuti Chakravarty, and his associates in Satsang Ashram Deoghar have conducted each and every aspect of this program entirely without any outsourcing. Now, enjoy the blessing. May you all keep well. Vande Purushottamam, Vande Purushottamam, Vande Purushottamam. Salutations to the paramount fulfiller. Joy Guru.